The knock came at exactly 9:17 p.m., sharp and calm. Like whoever stood outside already knew the answer would change everything. Emily Carter froze in the middle of the hallway. Her heart beating so loud she was sure her husband could hear it from across the room. The house felt too quiet, the kind of silence that presses on your ears and makes every thought louder than it should be. David was on the couch, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, staring at his phone as if it had betrayed him. When Emily saw the screen go dark in his hand, she understood without a word being spoken. Something from their past had finally arrived. "Don't move," Emily said, her voice steady even though her chest felt tight. David looked up, confused, then uneasy. "Emily, what's going on?" Before she could answer, the knock came again. Slow, confident, patient. Emily walked toward the front door, each step firm, controlled. She didn't rush. She didn't hesitate. Years of quiet doubts had prepared her for this moment more than she realized. The porch light shone through the glass, and for a brief second she saw a shadow shift outside. She opened the door. A woman stood there, rain clinging to her coat. Her dark hair pulled back neatly, her eyes full of something heavy and unresolved. She looked older, wiser, but unmistakable. "Hi, Emily," the woman said softly. "It's Sarah." Emily's stomach tightened, but she didn't step back. She had imagined this face more times than she wanted to admit, usually late at night when David thought she was asleep. "Come in," Emily said, stepping aside. Behind her, David stood up to fast, his chair scraping against the floor. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice sharp with panic. Emily turned toward him, calm but firm. "I told you not to move." Sarah entered the living room slowly, like someone stepping into a memory instead of a house. She looked around, taking in the photos on the wall, the family moments framed in smiles. Her eyes lingered for a second longer than needed. "I didn't come to cause problems," Sarah said. "I just needed to talk." Emily gestured toward the couch. "Then talk." David remained standing, unsure where to place his hands, his eyes moving between the two women. He looked like a man caught between past and present, unsure which one would pull harder. Sarah sat down but stayed near the edge of the cushion. "I didn't plan this," she said. "But sometimes life brings unfinished things back when you least expect it." Emily crossed her arms, listening. She wasn't angry. She was focused. She had spent too many nights feeling something was missing, and now she finally knew why. "Why now?" Emily asked. Sarah took a breath. "Because I needed to know if what we had meant something, or if it was just something I never let go of." David closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were filled with regret. "I thought leaving the past behind was enough," he said. "I didn't know it would follow me." Emily studied him carefully. She saw the truth in his face not as an excuse but as a confession. This wasn't about betrayal. It was about distance, silence, and emotions left unfinished. Sarah looked at Emily. "I respected your marriage. I stayed away. But pretending feelings don't exist doesn't make them disappear." The room felt smaller now, like the walls were listening. Emily nodded slowly. "I felt it," she said. "The space between us. The quiet. The way he wasn't fully here anymore." David finally sat down, his shoulders heavy. "I never stopped caring," he said, looking at Emily. "But I didn't know how to say what I was feeling without hurting you." Emily exhaled. "Not saying it hurt me more." Sarah watched them, her expression soft but serious. "I don't want to be the reason your marriage breaks," she said. "I just needed honesty." Emily looked at her then. Really looked. She didn't see a rival. She saw a woman who had been carrying unanswered questions for years. "You're not the reason," Emily said. "You're just the moment." Silence settled again, but it wasn't empty this time. It was full of truth finally spoken out loud. The rain outside grew heavier, tapping against the windows like a quiet rhythm. Emily walked to the kitchen and poured water into 3 glasses, her hands steady. When she returned, she placed them on the table without a word. "This isn't about choosing," Emily said. "It's about facing what we avoided. Sarah nodded. I never asked him to leave you. I just needed closure. David rubbed his hands together. I should have dealt with this a long time ago. Emily met his eyes. You can't change that. But you can stop hiding. Sarah stood up slowly. I won't stay long, she said. I just wanted to speak my truth. Emily appreciated that. She appreciated the respect, the honesty, even if it came late. Sarah turned toward David. Some feelings don't fade, she said. They wait. David swallowed hard. He didn't respond. Emily felt something settle inside her, a calm understanding. This night wasn't about losing control. It was about taking it back. As Sarah moved toward the door, she paused. Thank you for letting me in, she said to Emily. Emily nodded. Some doors need to open so people can finally leave. Sarah stepped outside, the rain welcoming her back into the night. Emily closed the door slowly and leaned against it for a moment, breathing deeply. Behind her, David didn't move. Emily straightened and turned to face him. We need to talk, she said. He nodded, knowing this was only the beginning. The house was quiet again, but nothing felt the same. The knock had done what years of silence couldn't. It had forced the truth into the open where it could no longer hide. The morning after Sarah's visit, the house felt different. The air was heavier, yet lighter, as if truth had rearranged itself in the walls and corners. Emily moved around the kitchen with purposeful calm, pouring coffee into mugs and setting plates for breakfast. But her mind was elsewhere. David lingered by the counter, staring out the window, his hands wrapped around a mug that did nothing to warm him. The weight of last night's conversation had settled into every fiber of their home, making it impossible to ignore what had been simmering beneath the surface for years. Emily broke the silence first. We can't go on pretending nothing happened, she said, her voice steady but soft. David's shoulders tensed. He had been bracing for the confrontation he had avoided for so long, but hearing it so clearly now made it real. He nodded slowly, finally looking at her. I know, he admitted. I don't want to lose you, Emily. I didn't know how to fix things before. Emily placed her mug on the counter, leaning slightly against it. Fixing things starts with honesty, she said. Last night, Sarah came here and spoke her truth. You saw it. You felt it. And I saw you too. Not just the man next to me, but the man who carried unfinished feelings, who kept part of himself locked away. David rubbed his face, exhausted not just from lack of sleep, but from the emotional toll of confronting himself. I tried to bury it, he confessed. I thought I could ignore it, that it would disappear if I focused on us, on our life. But it didn't. And now I don't know where to begin. Emily stepped closer, her presence calm but firm. You begin by being present, by stopping the quiet distance that's been growing between us, by acknowledging what's real, not what's convenient. She saw the hesitation in his eyes, the fear of confronting the pain he had caused, even unintentionally. She knew it wasn't just about Sarah. It was about everything they hadn't said to each other in the years they had been married. We've been living side by side, David, she said quietly. Not together. And that's been the problem. David lowered his gaze. I didn't realize how far we'd drifted until last night. Seeing Sarah, it made me remember everything I ever felt, everything I left unsaid. I loved her, yes, but that's in the past. And I love you, Emily, but I can't pretend that nothing happened. Emily nodded. She understood that completely. Love was never simple. It was messy, layered, sometimes painful, and often confusing. No one is asking you to pretend, she said. I'm asking you to face it so we can decide what comes next. For us, her words hung in the air, steady and challenging at the same time. She wasn't threatening. She wasn't pleading. She was inviting him to step into reality with her. David's eyes lifted, meeting hers with a mixture of fear and relief. I want that, he said finally. I want to face it with you. I don't want to hide anymore, not from you, not from myself. Emily felt a flicker of hope. It was fragile, but real. It had been a long time since she had seen the man she married, the man who had been fully present, fully engaged, fully vulnerable. They moved to the living room, sitting across from each other on the couch. Space between them, smaller but still filled with tension. Emily reached for the letter Sarah had left behind, the worn piece of paper that had held unsent words for years. She unfolded it and held it gently, almost reverently, placing it on the table between them. "This isn't about Sarah anymore," she said. "It's about us. But this letter, it reminds us that feelings don't just disappear. They transform. We can learn from them." David leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "I never sent that letter," he admitted. "I thought I could move forward without confronting it. I was wrong. And now seeing her, hearing her, it's like a flood I wasn't ready for." He paused, swallowing hard. "But I am ready now. For us?" Emily smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and sadness in her eyes. "It's going to take time," she said. "We can't undo the years, but we can decide how we move forward. We can be honest, completely honest, and see if what's left between us is stronger than what we lost along the way." David nodded, a sense of determination settling over him. "I don't want to waste any more time," he said. "I want to be present. I want to rebuild with you, Emily. Not pretend, not hide, not drift." Emily felt her chest loosen. Finally, after months of quiet longing, avoidance, and subtle distance, she felt that tentative bridge forming between them. It wasn't perfect, and it wouldn't be easy, but it was a start. They were finally acknowledging the truth, and that truth had a power all its own. The days that followed were quiet but significant. They spoke more openly, not just about Sarah, but about the moments they had missed noticing each other. The subtle ways they had drifted apart, late nights spent alone, casual misunderstandings, unspoken resentments. Each conversation was a step toward rebuilding trust, toward remembering the connection that had drawn them together in the first place. One evening, Emily found David in the study, looking at old photographs they had taken before the marriage, before responsibilities had buried spontaneity. She walked over, placing her hand on his shoulder. "You remember this day?" she asked, smiling at a photo of them laughing in the park. David nodded, a small smile forming. "I do. We were so happy, so unaware of what life would throw at us." He looked at her with a mix of regret and hope. "But maybe that's the point. We didn't know, so we lived fully. Maybe now we can try again, knowing more, understanding more." Emily leaned against him briefly, feeling the warmth she had missed for too long. "Yes," she whispered. "We can try again. And we will. Together." It wasn't a dramatic transformation. There were no sudden declarations of perfect love. No miraculous resolution of every lingering doubt. But the shift was undeniable. Where there had been distance, there was engagement. Where there had been silence, there was dialogue. And where there had been unspoken longing, there was acknowledgement. A week later, Sarah called. She didn't need to speak for long. "Thank you for listening," she said quietly. "And for letting me leave without creating more chaos, I hope. I hope things get better for you both." Emily felt a sense of closure hearing that. A final note to the chapter that had unexpectedly returned. "Thank you," Emily replied softly. "You gave us a chance to be honest, and that's more than we could have asked for." After the call ended, Emily and David sat together in the living room, the afternoon sun filtering through the blinds. For the first time in a long while, the house felt like their home again. Not just a shared space, but a living, breathing place filled with possibility. David reached out, taking Emily's hand. "I can't promise it will be easy," he said. "There will be moments of doubt. But I can promise I'll be here fully, for you." Emily squeezed his hand, her heart steady. "And I'll be here fully, for you. We'll face it all together." Outside, life went on. Cars passed, children played, neighbors walked by. But inside that living room, time felt different. It had slowed to a pace where honesty mattered more than convenience. Where love wasn't assumed but earned, and where past shadows could exist without overshadowing the present. Emily looked at David, really looked at him, and saw the man who had shared her life with flaws, regrets, and love intact. She realized that letting someone in wasn't just about opening a door. It was about opening a heart. Being brave enough to face truth and willing to move forward, no matter how fragile the first steps felt. David smiled faintly, the kind of smile that held promises without words. Emily returned it, understanding that this wasn't the end of a story, but the start of a new chapter. A chapter where they would speak honestly, love deeply, and rebuild what had been quietly waiting beneath the surface all along. Even as the evening settled into night and the house returned to its familiar quiet, there was a warmth that hadn't been there before. It wasn't loud or flashy, but steady, comforting, and real. And in that moment, Emily knew that love wasn't about perfection or timing, it was about truth, presence, and the courage to face what had been left unsaid. They sat together, hands intertwined, listening to the subtle sounds of their home, each heartbeat syncing with the other. The past was acknowledged, the present fully embraced, and the future held a promise they were ready to meet. The journey wasn't over. It would never be. But for the first time in years, Emily and David felt the possibility of a love that could survive honesty, withstand uncertainty, and flourish in the space between two hearts willing to try again. And that, Emily realized, was more than enough to start over.